So, Ambassador, you and I have had a good working relationship. We had a very good conversation in my office. We have worked together, in particular concerning humanitarian crises and dissidents. I appreciated your willingness when serving as UN ambassador to speak out for Miriam Ibrahim, who was wrongfully imprisoned in Sudan and sentenced to torture and death for the crime of being a Christian. And you showed courage speaking out for her. As you know, I was very frustrated President Obama wouldn't speak out for her, but I was grateful that you did. But I also had very significant disagreements with you during your time as UN ambassador, and nowhere were those disagreements stronger than concerning Israel and concerning Iran. Concerning Israel, I think perhaps the most shameful moment of the Obama administration was after the election in November of 2016, and was the Security Council's passage of Resolution 2334, which I do not think it is coincidental that the Security Council passed it after the presidential election and not before. And that resolution was passed with, at best, the acquiescence of the United States and of you as UN ambassador, and at worst, the active encouragement of the Obama administration and you as UN ambassador. I believe Resolution 2334 is a pile of lies, that it is a resolution that is motivated by anti-Semitism, by hatred for Israel. Resolution 2334 declares much of modern-day Israel is illegitimate and illegally occupied territory. It declares the Jewish quarter in Jerusalem is illegitimate and illegally occupied territory. It declares the Wailing Wall is illegitimate and illegally occupied territory. There's a much circulated picture of President Obama in a yarmulke paying respects at the Wailing Wall. To see the Obama administration put through a resolution designed to attack Israel was quite dismaying. So I guess my first question is, do you agree with Resolution 2334?
Thank you, Senator. There were two sort of guiding principles that I relied upon as UN ambassador as it relates to Israel. The first was to combat bias and anti-Semitism and the unfair way that Israel has been treated at the UN and is treated at the UN. And the second, following President Obama's direction, of course, was to preserve space for a two-state solution. I want to make sure I have the chance to just describe a little bit what I did, and I'm disappointed we didn't get to talk about this in your office, what I did in the first category, because I think your question does not reflect the reality of my 4 years at the UN.
With respect to Ambassador Power, the time is limited.
Right.
And so if you could just answer the question I asked, do you agree with Resolution 2334? I recognize you may well have done other things that were positive concerning Israel. I'm focused on this action at the United Nations.
I just would like to get on the record that under my leadership, we secured Yom Kippur as a UN holiday. We convened the first ever General Assembly condemning anti-Semitism in the same chamber as the Zionism is Racism resolution was passed decades before. And we integrated Israel in a way that had never been done before, chairing committees, being able to actually be part of groups from which they had been traditionally excluded. I don't think there is a record that looks as substantial when it comes to integrating Israel. On the resolution itself, it is a resolution in keeping with President Obama's desire to encourage the parties to avoid unilateral steps, including terrorism, incitement to violence, and the building of settlements. Those dimensions of the resolution, I think if you read my explanation of vote at the time, the problem with the resolution and the reason President Obama decided to abstain was by and large the venue, because the UN has been so vast, because there are 18
Let's get to a little bit more granular. Do you believe the Jewish quarter in Jerusalem is illegitimate and illegally occupied territory?
I do not.
So do you disagree with the substance of Resolution 2334? Because that's what it says.
Senator, President Obama's desire was to encourage the parties to avoid unilateral steps. That is the essence of that resolution, and I think the reason that he made the judgment to instruct me to abstain.
So encouraging the parties to avoid unilateral steps, Resolution 2334 was a unilateral step. Israel had no say. It was a step taken by the enemies of Israel to condemn Israel.
The desire that animated me in my time at the UN was to fight bias and to preserve space for a two-state solution.
A final question. Can you please describe the role played by Iran and by the Houthis in particular in deepening the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, and assess whether the Biden administration's moves to relieve terrorism sanctions on the Houthis has played a role in that humanitarian crisis?
The Houthi, when I was at the United Nations, the Houthi overran a sovereign government, used military force for territorial acquisition, have used food as a weapon of war. Again, I'm on record condemning Houthi actions and specifically, again, the use of humanitarian aid. I think the challenge is the vast majority of Yemenis live under Houthi control at the moment, unless and until there is a political settlement. And so it's really important, given that that's the world's largest humanitarian catastrophe right now, that we find a way to get food to those vulnerable people.
Thank you very much.
The administration is lifting the terrorism sanctions.
The senator's time has expired, and
I was just asking her to answer.
I know. I've let more time than other colleagues.
Okay, I'd still like her to ask the question.
I'm sure you can submit it for the record and you get a response.
Okay, so you don't...
No, I want to observe the time I have for everybody else.
You can still...
Senator Booker.
I am really grateful. We're all juggling hearings.
Mr. Chipman, a minute ago, Senator Whitehouse asked you if any of your views on guns are out of step with the majority of the American people. The AR-15 is one of, if not the most popular rifle in America. It's not a machine gun, it's a rifle. Your public position is that you want to ban AR-15s, is that correct?
Senator, thank you for the question, and thank you for our visit yesterday and offering me Dr. Pepper. It made me reminisce about my time in Central Texas. But now to your question. With respect to the AR-15, I support a ban as has been presented in a Senate bill and supported by the President. The AR-15 is a gun I was issued on ATF's SWAT team, and it's a particularly lethal weapon, and regulating it as other particularly lethal weapons I have advocated for. As ATF director, if I'm confirmed, I would simply enforce the laws in the books, and right now there is no such ban on those guns.
So you want to ban the most popular rifle in America. A minute ago, and you noted there is a Senate bill. Senator Feinstein had a bill to ban some 2,000 specified rifles and other firearms in her bill. In 2013, the Democrats had a majority in the Senate. It was the Harry Reid Senate. And we voted on the Senate floor on Senator Feinstein's so-called assault weapon ban. Do you know how many senators voted for it?
No, I did not.
40. 60 voted against it. So in a Democratic Senate, a supermajority voted against a ban. Now, part of the reason they voted against the ban, as you're aware, is during the Clinton administration, there was a ban in effect. The Department of Justice studied the effect of that law and discovered that it had no measurable impact on violent crime. Is that right?
Senator, I did enforce this law for 10 years as an ATF agent. I'm unfamiliar with the study that you are pointing out, and I apologize for that.
Well, when you and I met in my office last night and discussed it, I asked if there were any data to suggest that the ban was effective, and what you said in the office is you were not aware of any data, that the data was, I think, mixed is the term you used.
Yes, Senator. What I said to you yesterday, you've accurately stated it. I think it was mixed, which, I stand by that remark. And I think my recollection is that evidence was shown that the limitation on magazine size had an impact. I also believe that later studies showed that the use of assault weapons in mass shootings have declined during that period. But that's how I would like to characterize my views on it.
So you also said when you and I talked yesterday in the office that Senator Feinstein's bill, which a supermajority of senators voted against in a Democratic Senate, you said that bill didn't go far enough and you wanted an even broader ban to ban. You said it didn't go far enough. Is that right?
Senator, thanks for that question and the ability to clarify. What I did say is that Senator Feinstein's bill did not address those firearms that are currently in the possession of Americans. And then I did share with you my view as an advocate, which would be quite different than someone actually enforcing the law in the books, that those firearms could be treated under the NFA and regulated that way, which would deal with those currently in possession of Americans.
So when you say it didn't go far enough, you mean that you don't just want to ban the manufacturer of those rifles, you don't just want to make it illegal to sell those rifles, but you want to actively have government go after the people who currently possess firearms, and if they don't register and submit to all of the onerous restrictions of the National Firearms Act, presumably confiscate their weapons?
Senator, what I've said publicly is that as an advocate, I prefer a system where the AR-15 and other assault weapons are regulated under the National Firearms Act.
Let me shift to Ms. Jaddow. You and I also had a conversation this week. Do you consider so-called birth tourism to be a problem?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, and thank you for taking the time to meet with me yesterday. I really appreciated that. We did have a quite fruitful discussion on that issue, and I believe we ended with the thought that we need to collect some information, and the data is not there. I also noted that as a mother and as someone who's been through quite a difficult delivery, the incredible interest in protecting the health of a mother, the health of a new baby, and ensuring that we could do the best we can so that women and their babies are protected.
Ms. Jaddow, with all respect, I don't find that answer remotely credible. And you said in my office you didn't consider birth tourism an 8-month pregnant or 9-month pregnant woman getting a tourist visa to come to America to have a child on American soil so that child is an American citizen, that you didn't consider it an abuse of our laws. It's an obvious and transparent abuse of the laws. I will point out last December, federal prosecutors indicted 6 people running a birth tourism operation in Long Island, where Turkish women would pay between $7,500 and $10,000 to travel to New York on tourist visas to give birth and return to Turkey with American citizen babies. And in 2019, the New York Times referred to the birth tourism industry as, quote, thriving.